I've been on the radio talking to drivers for about the last hour 15 minutes. And I'm talking to at least 10 drivers going the other way. I'm heading down from South Wisconsin. And they're going to start refusing loads in New York City.
Falsely, knowingly, inflated his net worth by billions of dollars to unjustly enrich himself, his family, and to cheat the system. Donald Trump may have authored the art of the deal, but he perfected the art of the steal.
I think that this is really an extraordinarily unusual circumstance that the law-abiding and rule-following New Yorkers who are business people have nothing to worry about because they're very different than Donald Trump and his behavior.
Will you sue him for us?
Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the ass. He's going to know my name personally.
What you just heard there is leftist lunatic New York Governor Kathy Hochul giving a very, very poor effort to reassure current New York developers and any future New York developers that the state will ever only seek to destroy Donald Trump. And everybody else is safe. If you missed exactly what she said, or if your liberal translation just didn't seem quite right, here it is in full.
I think that this is really an extraordinarily unusual circumstance that the law-abiding and rule-following New Yorkers who are business people have nothing to worry about because they're very different than Donald Trump and his behavior.
Now, I know that we all translate liberal a little bit differently, so please let me know in the comments exactly what you heard there. But what I hear is anyone doing business that isn't named Donald Trump has nothing to worry about, as long as you take your lessons and you don't behave like Donald Trump. She actually said this, and I think when they talk about behaving like Donald Trump, I think they must obviously be talking about being outspoken Republicans. They're talking about stopping Hillary Clinton from sitting atop her rightful throne, because I'm going to show you in this video that everything Trump did is exactly what every other real estate developer in the entire free world also does, and there's nothing illegal about it. He did nothing differently than any other developer. The only thing different here is the fact that he decided to run for president and he decided to win. And no matter what the left has tried to do to bring him to heel, he refuses to relent. The guy will not give in to them. And they just don't like him. You know, the establishment views Donald Trump as a threat. And if anyone is still on the fence about whether or not things are fixed or weaponized against Donald Trump, if what I'm saying is true, and he operated his business in the same manner as literally everyone else, yet they're left alone, and he is dragged through the court to the tune of $500 million. I don't think that there is any stronger proof than that is exactly what we're seeing. And here's what's going to happen. This one decision, even when it all falls apart on appeal, because it is going to fall apart, this one act of weaponized government is going to be the one thing everyone looks back on 10 years from now when we're all trying to figure out what destroyed New York.
It's more than $350 million. That's a huge financial hit, and I'm wondering, where is he going to get this money?
Actually, it's closer to $500 million with a 9% interest, assuming it'll take 18 to 2 years to actually settle this in an appeal, which I think it should be appealed. He'll work hard to raise it. I think he can do it. But I don't think this case is about Trump anymore at all, because you heard the governor of New York come out yesterday and say, look, everybody, don't be scared about doing business in New York, because the only people we prosecute are people like Donald Trump who don't behave well. That didn't go over very well with the investment community, because we're all asking each other, who's next? This was a victimless crime. Nobody lost any money. And a judge out of nowhere put on a $355 million penalty. I mean, who's next? So if you think
Kevin,
about
before I don't want to cut you off, but I hear about the so-called victimless crimes, but the law's on the books.
If there was ever a victimless crime, this is it. No bank lost a dime, no tax revenue was lost. In fact, obviously, the more they build, the more they purchase, the more people they put to work and pay, the more revenue the state makes. So the state made money here, the banks made money here. The only real crime here is that evil Donald Trump also made money here. There were no victims. And unlike the other crimes that New York is noticeably soft on, attacking police officers, destroying property, looting, all of these things that are actually crimes with actual victims, The left excuses, the left condones, the left almost promotes, right? You can't even buy deodorant in New York City without finding someone with a damn key to the deodorant cabinet.
Falsification of business records in second degree, issuing false financial statements, insurance fraud, conspiracy, and all these different aspects of it. Those are actual crimes. I take it your point is that these should not have been prosecuted?
Well, my point is there's never been a case like this in 75 years. Everything you just listed off is done by every real estate developer everywhere on earth in every city. This has never, ever been prosecuted. But here's the real point that people in New York should concern themselves with. You can put your money anywhere. I'm a real estate developer. Do you think there's a chance I would ever take a chance on New York again? New York is turning itself into a flyover state. I have to build data centers now. I'm not going to go to New York. New York has power. It's got fiber optics. It's got Niagara Falls. But no, we're not even thinking about it. We're going to places that have the exact same thing, where we have rational governors that have never done this to investors.
That might be my new favorite way to describe Republican governors, rational governors. I think that's going to stick. I like that. I kind of wish he would have just said Republican governors, but I like that, rational governors. But, you know, what a hell of a concept. You know, businesses moving their businesses to places with little or no taxes, better services, better living conditions for their employees, and they won't try to throw you in prison and bankrupt you for your political views and your personality. I mean, come on. They sound like crazy people. But it's wild, man, to actually think, you know, I think our country really is in the process of slowly segregating itself by location. Crazy people are going to live in certain places like New York and California, and sane people are living in very, very different places as far away and as different as they possibly can.
This is about New York and its people. If I were in New York today and I was living there, I would ask myself, maybe we should hire better management. Why is this happening to us? Why are we becoming a flyover state? Why are investors
Kevin,
concerned about putting their money there?
But shouldn't you ask that? Wouldn't those people also be saying, first of all, I do wonder how many people take issue with the idea that every investor is engaged in falsifying business records, that every investor is engaged in what has been accused of Donald Trump and the Trump organization. Because there's probably a lot who are saying to themselves, I've never falsified my business records. I know what a square foot looks like. I know what I can ask for and what I have the money to support. So I wonder to what extent that really is true. But on the second point, wouldn't there be many companies who would not want to do business or loan money to people like yourself or investors if they know that they can get away with fraud and there's no recourse to protect them?
Excuse me, what fraud? This is not about Trump anymore. When you get a developer that builds a building and he says it's worth $400 million and he wants to borrow $200 million from a bank, which happens every day, everywhere on earth, including every American city, every developer is an entrepreneur. They shine the light on their building and they say it's worth 400. The bank does its own due diligence, as was done in this case, because they're very good at it. The banks are very good, and they say, no, it's worth 300. We're only going to loan you 150 million. That haggling has gone on for decades. That's how it works. And then in this case, even the bank that was supposedly defrauded testified and said, we didn't lose anything. We want to do business with this guy again.
Can you imagine being the average CNN viewer and hearing that right there? You've never, ever heard anything like that before. Your mind would be absolutely blown. I mean, what do you mean the bank testified and said not only was there no fraud, but this is one of our best and favorite customers. We can't wait to do business with him again. And still found guilty and robbed by the state. But remember, Leticia told us, this case was decided in her favor before that bank ever had a chance to testify, after she also promised that she would sue Donald Trump. And I hope this is becoming clear to someone, man. I hope more and more people are hearing this stuff. If these videos that I'm making could make just a small little crack in one damaged brain of just one liberal, then that's a win, man. But just like O'Leary says, excuse me, what fraud?
We'd like to, but the judge said, no. Let's penalize this developer for $355 million. And if we're going to do that, let's penalize all the developers all across America. They've all done the same thing. All of them should go to jail, and we should stop building buildings. That's what the message is from New York. Even the governor herself is concerned about what this looks like to investors all around the world. It's not just U.S. domestic. All
Well,
around the world, people are talking about what happened here. You really think people want to invest money in New York after this? How about we go somewhere else?
I think there are people who would, I don't want to cut you off, but I want to converse
Well,
with you
you
instead.
just did.
It's only because I want to have a conversation,
you know what?
Kevin,
I
as
respect
opposed
you.
to just
I
having you
respect
tell
you because
me.
you're a lawyer.
Just look at this poor girl's face, man. Listen to the defeat in her voice as she tries to convince herself and her viewers, like the governor did, that this is only about Donald Trump, right? That none of this government overreach, none of this government abuse is going to have any unforeseen effects. Everything has consequences, especially things governments do. And they're the last people to ever think about and look to the future for their consequences. In this, I think O'Leary is correct. I think New York has sealed their own fate. And honestly, that's a city that couldn't take much more bad news. You know, this is not going to end well for New York City. And like I said before, man, I think the damage is done. Even when this does fall apart on appeal, because it has to, even when they come out and they may even have to apologize, who knows? They might even get sued. Whatever, and they'll never apologize, obviously, but even if they did, I imagine most investors, most developers, they have already, in their minds, already turned off New York City.
You're a lawyer. You understand exactly what I'm talking about.
I got to tell you, I'm respectable for a number of reasons, Kevin O'Leary, but being a lawyer is one of those issues. But I'll tell you, when I hear your conversation, and I do want to converse with you about this point, I understand that there are legitimate concerns that were raised during the trial and will continue to be raised about who the quote unquote, who is actually bringing the suit. It wasn't the banks who were saying that we as consumers or unsophisticated feel this way. But Leticia James, the Attorney General, and I know you want to expand beyond Trump, has suggested, well, it's about making the playing field level for those who are not the major and billionaire investors, but for those who are supposed to put business records out there, want to get a loan, the idea of making sure that they have to have the same true statements included as those who have a lot more money. Is there any weight to that for you?
Well, I ask you, who lost money? And I'll make it even clearer. You and I, we're developing a data center together. And I say to you, we can go to New York, where this just happened. It's your money now. You're now an investor, and you're taking risk. You're an entrepreneur with me, right beside me. We're together on the deal. Or I can show you Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia, where the governors actually ran businesses. Let's go there, where this never happened before. They have power. They have permits. They've got legislation that's supportive of entrepreneurship. Why would we go to New York? Why take the risk? My only point is, did we just diminish the great state of New York and the great people of New York? And shouldn't they ask for better management so they don't become a flyover state? Remember, New York has the highest taxes in the country, the worst regulatory environment, and it's incredibly mismanaged. And I'm pointing out now, on top of that, you get this insanity. A victimless crime, and forget about Trump. It's not about Trump. I don't care about Trump in this. I care about America, and I care about entrepreneurship, and I care about democracy and the fairness. The judicial system is now being criticized. People are asking themselves, the bar of New York, is this judge rational to charge $355 million in a case where no one lost any money? Is that good for the people of New York? Shouldn't the people of New York wake up to this and say, what's happening to us? Why is this becoming so perverse? Why are we the focus of this injustice? And I had nothing to do with Trump. I'm not supporting Trump. I'm supporting American entrepreneurship. And New York is slowly becoming the #1 loser state in America. I'm sorry, that's what's happening.
Well, that's news to the city that doesn't sleep, but I'll tell you what, the governor has said that legitimate business operations have nothing to worry about. I, as an attorney, am looking at this issue, wondering what the appeal...
What can you even add to that? The guy is absolutely correct. And there should be a new rule, man. We should measure insane things by just take Trump out of them. If X, Y, or Z thing were happening to some other random person not named Donald Trump, would it frighten us? Would we stand for it? You know, would it even be a conversation? I think that even intellectually corrupted leftists, I think they know the answer to that, you know, but this is the price. This is the price of 24/7 dehumanizing vitriolic propaganda aimed at one person in one direction. At the end of that tunnel, the people will allow the mob to do anything that they want to you. I mean, no questions asked. Some of them will even cheer it on. I mean, we see that all the time. And somehow they never, ever think to ask the question that Kevin O'Leary asked multiple times. Who's next? Who's next? Are we next? The governor says that no one is next unless you behave like Donald Trump. Then, of course, you're next. But the problem with that is if you ask the mob to describe the behavior of Donald Trump, you'll get an infinite number of different answers, right? To the left, I promise you, we all behave like Donald Trump. To the left, we are Donald Trump. But that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.